All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Zellers with Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Cape May County in the Family and Community Health Sciences Department. And with me today, also with Family and Community Health Sciences at RCA in Cape May County, is Annalise Kimmerly. And we are going to be talking to you today about the 8 dimensions of wellness. I am going to release a poll, and hopefully this week I do it right. Here we go. All right, I'm going to release a poll, and if you would be so kind as to complete that poll, it'd be very helpful for me as we're moving through the presentation. All right, so before we get into the 8 dimensions of wellness, I just wanted to let everybody know that Rutgers Cooperative Extension is a partnership between the county boards of chosen freeholders in the state of New Jersey, Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. And we actually have faculty in all 21 counties throughout New Jersey right now, which we're pleased with, so we can reach out to the community and be the university's arm to the community. We are composed of 3 different departments, which include agriculture and natural resources, 4-H youth development, and then Annalise and I's department, which is Family and Community Health Sciences. And here at FCHS, we provide outreach in New Jersey and beyond on topics that are related to nutrition, chronic disease prevention, food safety, and overall wellness. At the end of the presentation, I'll have our websites and our Facebook information, which has a lot of free resources that you're welcome to use for personal use or business or whatever you like. Of course, Rutgers Cooperative Extension is an affirmative action, equal opportunity employer. And I just wanted to review the setup. I know some of you have been watching previously, but this series was developed by my colleague and I, Jen Chikaitis, and we have used SAMHSA as the basis for their wellness, as you'll see as we go through the presentation. But we wanted to get some feedback on what people thought about this curriculum. So this is the last of the 10 in the series. And what we're doing is giving away a Fitbit. You can win one of the Fitbits that we're giving away. And what you do to enter to do that is after the presentation, I will send out a link for a survey. You complete that link, you complete that survey, and there's a space in there for the word of the day, which I'll give you in a little while. You put that in there so we know that you viewed the whole thing. And you can enter 10 times if you watch 10 of the videos. Now, if you weren't able to watch one of the videos live, we have them up on our YouTube channel, and I'm also sharing that information of the recorded videos. So you're welcome to watch the recorded video as well, and you can also enter if you get that code out of there. So we're just hoping to get some feedback about what you all think about the series and how it might be helpful, things that we can improve. And then we're going to be releasing it out to different entities, agencies and schools and whatnot for them to use where relevant. All right, so today, like I said, is the conclusion of the 8 Dimensions of Wellness series. So we're going to be doing some reviewing here. We have a couple of objectives for today's class, which are to identify the dimensions of wellness. We're going to define overall wellness, and we're going to understand how the 8 dimensions of wellness interact with one another to create positive balance. And we're going to explain ways throughout the presentation to achieve, maintain, and improve overall wellness. If you could take a minute to take your cell phones out and open your cameras, take a hit the QR code there and open it up and fill out the questionnaire. That helps me to know about the teaching and the content of the information. It's really important as part of my job. And if you put your email in at the bottom for filling out the questionnaire, then we have some prizes to hand out, and we draw that quarterly. So you can be entered to do that if you're interested. All right, so what is wellness? Currently, the wellness industry is a $4 trillion business, and people have really latched on to this idea of wellness. I forget what I was watching the other day. I think it was like pants or something. They were advertising wellness around pants. I'm like, okay, we've gone to a whole new level with this. And I've seen cars that advertise wellness. A lot of times we don't really know what that term means, but it sounds like a good concept. So if you're searching for wellness, you'll likely see, if you go into the internet and you search for wellness, you're likely going to see things like images of spas, yoga classes, maybe people meditating, and maybe even an essential oil ad or two. And maybe these things can contribute to our overall wellness, but it's sort of an undefined idea that people try to latch onto to feel better and feel well, I guess. But sometimes it's hard to get a definition and really big understanding of that. And when I started in this department, we have wellness as one of our missions in our mission statement. And I thought, well, what is wellness? So I started looking into that a little bit. And it turns out that it can be defined. And what we found was that to understand wellness, you have to understand the concepts behind it and what the research is that's out there. So the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, has created a definition for wellness. And this definition includes a holistic approach, meaning it's not based upon one idea, but rather the functioning of several concepts. And those concepts work together to create a balance to establish wellness. So what is the definition of wellness? Like I said, it can be defined, and you might have tried to figure out what that is because of this multi-trillion-dollar industry. But the way that wellness has come to be defined, according to the model that SAMHSA has developed, is that it's actually a balance of 8 different components. And you can see those components on the dimensions on the screen, and we're going to talk a little bit about them. But SAMHSA's definition envisions wellness not as the absence of disease, illness, and stress, but rather the presence of a positive purpose in life that includes satisfying work and play, joyful relationships, a healthy body and living environment, and happiness. And like I said, there's 8 dimensions there, and they include social, emotional, physical, intellectual, environmental, occupational, spiritual, and financial. And so today we're going to be focusing and reevaluating where we've been with all of those different dimensions. And like I said, if you have not been able to view one of the live presentations and you really are interested, oh, I'm really interested in the spiritual or the environmental, it's on our YouTube channel, and I'll share out in an email for everybody that was registered that information so that you can go and watch the recorded presentations if you like. So these are the different components. Again, they're listed out. They're in alphabetical order, not in order of importance or priority. And that's the way that SAMHSA has them listed on their material. So we've kept that consistent here as well. And the definitions here are important. And I'd like to point out that some key words that you should keep in mind when we're going through the lesson today, but also when you're kind of reviewing and maintaining your personal wellness, when you're thinking about what things are important and how to keep things flowing and positive and balanced. So think about words like satisfying relationships, pleasant and stimulating, satisfaction, recognizing, knowledge, enrichment, need, connection and belonging, support system, and purpose. And you can see I kind of went through and italicized all those words because, again, they're promoting that positiveness, and they're going to really help you with your wellness goals and journey. And if you think about these key terms as you're trying to find wellness, these will help keep you to be more mindful about your goals and your achievements with wellness, and they'll help to keep it positive as you flow through your journey here. Because we each have so many, individual needs, preferences, and capabilities, what we consider balance will also look different. So what is important to me and what balances me is probably going to be very different than a lot of the folks on the call today. And that's because we're all so unique and different. Some people may feel very balanced socially, but physically could strive for more balance. So if you're comfortable, I want you to just take a minute now and reflect on which of the 8 dimensions of wellness you feel strongest in, you feel most positive in. And if you're interested in doing this, you can write them down in the chat, and I'll revisit them in a minute. But if you feel like you want to, say, oh, physical wellness, that's where I feel strongest, but throw that in the chat if you're interested in doing so. No pressure to do it if you are not. And we'll just take a look at that. But you want to remember that while you're looking at what other people are working on as a strength and balance, you should remember that achieving wellness is a constant task. So this is something, you know, you might write in the chat that physical wellness is your strength right now, but 6 months from now, you might be not so balanced in that area. So you want to recognize that there's, you know, it's a constant task. There's not a quick fix. And it's important for us to kind of go back and rebalance from time to time to adjust what's going on in our lives. Oh, nobody wrote in the chat. That's okay. Nope. Okay. If you want to go in later and write it in, that's fine. No pressure. So it seems like keeping up with the balance, you know, it could be difficult, but remember that when you're doing something to fulfill one of these dimensions, it can have a ripple effect and it can help to fulfill one or more other dimensions as well. So for example, if you have a job that serves to fulfill your occupational wellness, it might also be helping to fulfill your financial, your social, your environmental, and even your intellectual, spiritual, and emotional wellness because you have a good balance in occupational wellness. If you join the gym, the primary purpose might be to fulfill your physical wellness, but you may also find that that helps to fulfill your social and environmental wellness, and maybe even some other areas. Hope we got some people in the chat. Okay, so the question was, what is your strength? Like, what of the 8 dimensions do you feel strongest in right now? Somebody said spiritual and financial, and that's awesome. I think that, like, I find that hard to achieve sometimes. So it's been areas that I've been working on. So I've been trying to find ways to find that spiritual and financial wellness. And I've noticed how I can bounce it off of other dimensions to help support that. So if you're strong in that, that's awesome. But if you feel like they're not so strong, then think about how you can also contribute with other areas to put them in there. Thank you for participating. All right, so you can see here in this visual depiction of wellness, how the components kind of overlap and they touch one another. And that's really to show how each component does not stand alone and how it affects and is affected by the others. So it's a very cyclical process and it kind of intertwines with one another. Somebody said they feel really strong in their social wellness. I've been working really hard for social wellness lately. And I feel like it's something that I lost after COVID. So it's nice to see somebody feel strong in there. I'm feeling a little stronger. And I'll tell you what, it's making me feel good in other areas too. So good for you. All right. So let's talk about reviewing. This is it's the conclusion. So it's going to be a review of what we have done over the last 9 sessions. But I want to talk about, I put time to review on here because I feel like time is something that's really fleeting and very precious. And, how many times a day or month or week do you hear somebody say, wow, time really flies, or I can't believe it's almost the end of October already. Time is fleeting. It's very precious. And because time is able to pass so quickly, it's really important to be mindful of what is going on in our lives, and also important to check in on our wellness during that time. So we're going to do this today while we review the 8 dimensions of wellness. But I also want you to take time to do this when things feel like they're going really well. So the 10 series is over and you're feeling good, you're feeling really balanced. Check in with yourself and say, hey, why do I feel so balanced? Maybe it's like the folks that wrote in the chat, maybe their social wellness is really good and that's helping to balance the other areas. So think about what's going well. If you feel very well and good, then take a while to recognize this and acknowledge it and feed off of that. So when maybe things aren't so positive and balanced, you can resort back and say, hey, this was going well during my life and I felt good about that then. So it's good to have that ability to be mindful about it and to be able to reflect. Learning the why to your balance will help you keep it and regain it if you feel off track. And likewise, if you feel unbalanced, then taking that moment to evaluate why you feel unbalanced might be helpful. Listen to your needs for wellness, just like you would if you're hungry. Oh, I need food. But listen to your needs and act on them and create the balance we talk about when discussing wellness balance throughout this lesson. So let's break down each dimension now. And while we do, think about over the last 9 lessons that we've done, if you participate in all of them, and think about what you've done to achieve positive wellness in each area of wellness, and think about how you might expand on this as we review each one of them. If you set goals, think about those goals and how you've met them, and how maybe, you could move on from that and continue to build on it as well. All right, we're going to start with physical wellness. So when we talk about physical wellness in the physical dimension of wellness, we discuss the importance of physical activity, quality sleep, and a nutrient-dense diet. We also talked about the importance of seeing a physician regularly, or at least once per year, for a wellness checkup. And when sometimes people don't have doctors, and we discussed that and when we went over this in physical wellness. It's good to have somebody that you can call just in case you're unwell. Even if you're really healthy all the time, it's good to have that check-in. Think about the physical presentation and what your goals were when we talked about that during that presentation. Did you start slow, as was recommended, and add a few things in at a time to reach physical wellness? And how are you feeling physically well now? What is making you feel physically well now? So think about those things. And let's look more into physical wellness to stay on track, or to readjust if you want to readjust and get back on track for positive physical wellness. And remember, we said you may need to be working on different dimensions from time to time. So you might be good in wellness, physical wellness now, but you want to remember how to jump back to that if you need to. So physical wellness has 4 sections, as we indicated in the last slide. And to have balance in physical wellness, do things that improve your physical health. So in turn, you will positively impact the other dimensions of wellness in your life. To assist with eating well, take a few extra minutes a week to plan meals so that you save time in the long run and don't find yourself wasting food or eating foods that are less healthful. When you do meal plan, make a list to go to the food store. And with this list, you could try to find some coupons that complement your list of things you're going to buy that are on the list. Use circulars to find the best deals on healthy food. When you do go to the grocery store, you want to make sure that you shop the outside aisle of the store so you don't purchase more costly packaged food that's in the middle. And make sure to stick to your list when you go to the grocery store, and don't go to the grocery store hungry, because it makes it so much harder to stick to that list. If you're really hungry, you're going to buy those impulse buys. Also, eating at home is going to save you on calories and sodium intake, while also saving you money. And I know the grocery store bills are a big concern. I get a lot of calls right now to do Eating Healthy on a Budget, which is great. I love doing that lesson. But there's things you can do, like eating at home, shopping the perimeter, looking at circulars, getting coupons that will help you save as well. Make sure to set goals to eat a nutrient-dense diet so that you don't have as much room for empty calories that cost more and offer the body don't offer any valuable nutrients because they're empty calories. You want to make sure to be more physically active by moving the way you like. It doesn't have to be a set movement, but rather something that you enjoy. That's really important. If you want to keep doing it, you need to enjoy it. Be sure to consult a physician before trying any new exercises. You want to try to get at least 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate exercise. And you want to combine cardiovascular exercise or aerobic exercise with weight-bearing exercise and stretching movement. Evaluate what you're doing or what you would like to do and build on that for regular exercise. Avoid excuses that may be easier than moving, but in the long run, you'll be more physically well by avoiding those excuses. Get out there and move. And finally, don't forget that you're different than everybody else. So what works for a friend or family member might not work for you. So do what you like so you keep moving and sitting less. To get better sleep, go to bed at the same time every night and get up at the same time every day. That's going to help set a pattern for you. Being active will also make you sleep better. So there's twofold in the physical area of wellness. So again, if you're moving more and sitting less, you're more likely to sleep better at night. If you are still struggling with sleeping and you're moving more and you have a set bedtime, you might want to cut the caffeine out. Because even if you do fall asleep after drinking caffeine, you might be restless at night. You might be getting up or not sleeping as well. So if you're finding you're not getting a good quality night's sleep, then you might need to, cut that caffeine out or cut back on the caffeine, maybe drink it a little earlier in the day. It's good to take time to meditate or take a break during the day to relax. And doing so will train your body on how to shut down when it's time to sleep instead of thinking about all those things going on in your mind. Along with those same lines, unplug more. So get off the digital computer, the phone, iPad, all that kind of stuff. Unplug more and you might sleep better as well. Try to unplug earlier if you're not sleeping, put your gadgets aside so that your body kind of knows to shut down and quiet down. We're on so many devices all the time, and that could really impact your sleep pattern. And finally, don't eat too much late at night, because that can create restlessness at night too. Try when you're trying to sleep, because it's working, your body's working to digest the food if it's a late heavy meal, and that might interrupt sleep. And then, of course, the last area of physical wellness is to see a doctor, or at least get a well checkup every year to gauge where you are physically, and then also help to prevent chronic diseases by seeing the doctor regularly. Little preventative. All right, and then next we have emotional wellness. And in the area of emotional wellness, as we discussed when we did the presentation, there's 3 areas for that. We want to look at the importance of feelings and emotions. We want to make sure we're doing good self-care, and we want to make sure that we're managing stress for our emotional wellness. Think about, do you remember what your emotional wellness goals were from that presentation? After watching it, did you say, okay, I'm going to try to manage stress better? What was it that you said you wanted to do? And if you had specific goals, do you think you should revisit them again? Or are you feeling emotionally well right now? It's good to ask yourself that question from time to time. If I start feeling, kind of unbalanced, then I try to take a second and look at why I'm feeling that way. Is it really overwhelming at work, or is my personal life really overwhelming, or am I not getting enough physical activity, or am I not sleeping well? I try to look at those things because I might be feeling unbalanced emotionally when really it's a lack of sleep that's causing that. And how can I get back on track with that? So think about those things, and think about those goals that you set. And we're going to look here at other ways to stay on track emotionally, and maybe readjust if you need to, or get back on track for emotional wellness, or stay on track if you're feeling good in this area. And like we said, it's always something that you're going to keep working on for all the dimensions. So it kind of overlaps there. Emotional wellness, as I said, has those 3 sections that we indicated on the last slide. And to have balance in emotional wellness, do things that improve your emotional and mental health. So in turn, you'll be positively impacted, and the other dimensions of your wellness in your life will hopefully also flow into a good existence. To assist with feelings and emotional wellness, you want to be non-judgmental about your feelings, and you want to acknowledge your feelings. So don't beat yourself up. Be positive. Remember, we said in the definition we want to be positive around our dimensions of wellness. So acknowledge those feelings. Don't judge them, and it's okay to have feelings. And that's a healthy way to achieve emotional wellness. You want to find safe relationships where you can express your feelings. And when faced with challenges, recognize these are not challenges, but they're rather opportunities for growth and learning. So we all get thrown a curveball here and there, but if you can kind of come away from it with what you've learned from it, then it's going to help to support you and make you stronger for the next time a challenge arises. Know your limitations and learn from your mistakes that you may make. Every situation, like I said, every situation can be a learning situation to improve the outcomes for next time. And finally, be sure to take responsibilities for your actions so that you'll hold yourself accountable and you gain respect from others. If you take responsibility for things that you've done, people are much more likely to respect you. It'll be a positive relationship, and it'll cause you to have positive thoughts about yourself as well. And we all know how important self-care is, but it's often really hard to achieve. If you're a caregiver for somebody else, you might find it difficult to care for yourself, but that's important. So be sure to create self-care in your life to balance out your emotional wellness. You could do this by participating in supportive social interactions, as we discussed in the social wellness presentation. And social wellness can really be key for emotional wellness, and as well as the other 6 dimensions of wellness. Also difficult for self-care is asking for help. I know I'm really guilty of this. I try to do everything myself, so I'm not bothering anybody. But we all need a little help from time to time. And so ask for the help, because this could go a long way in your personal self-care. So it's important to ask for help and recognize how to set boundaries for your self-care so that you're healthy emotionally. Do things that make you calm, like meditating, maybe exercising in nature, or just sitting and viewing nature. They're great ways to stay calm. Maybe you want to participate in an art class or talk to a friend. There are other good ways to try to create calmness in your life. Try to find things that make you calm and do them as often as you can to support your emotional wellness. Having a daily routine or schedule can help with this. That might make you feel more in control and support your emotional well-being. If you have if you have important things happen in your life, then plan for those obligations. So create time for obligations in your schedule. That's going to really reduce your stress and allow you to care better for yourself. So if you know that you're rushing in the morning to get out the door, then find ways to kind of reduce that stress and help you by allowing time in your schedule. And of course, last but certainly not least, stress. Stress is unfortunately something that's hard to cope with. It's there, and it can really take a toll on our emotional wellness, but it also can impact other dimensions of wellness, like physical and social wellness. So it's important to manage that stress. Try to find techniques to manage stress by, again, finding the calm in the day or planning more time for self-care. And also you want to know what your stress triggers are. If being late, again, if being late in the morning upsets you and creates a stressful day, then try to get up earlier. Try to plan your lunch, have your clothes laid out, do things ahead of time so you have more time in the morning and you stress less. And then when you get to where you're going, hopefully you're not so overwhelmed and stressed out. It's also important to recognize that all feelings will pass. Um, and when you recognize that, it's going to make them less frequent and not as strong and stressful. So sometimes, again, meditation or deep breathing can reduce the feeling of being overwhelmed. You want to make sure to keep a glass half full mentality instead of a glass half empty mentality to stay positive and reinforce your emotional wellness with positive self-talks. Having a positive mindset can reduce stress and give you the ability to better care for yourself and your feelings. And then next up, we have social wellness. And social wellness has three areas, which are community, new people, and social time. Excuse me. Think about important ways that you incorporate social wellness into your life and how that makes you feel. Sometimes recognizing that how well you are at something means taking a look after the fact, and saying, hey, it was kind of hard to get all those folks together so we can enjoy social time because everybody's calendar is really full, but it really made me feel fulfilled. It really made me happy to see old friends or family or whomever it was. So think about how that makes you feel. And how social wellness makes you feel in these three areas. And it's really important to develop and nurture relationships so that you're connected to folks with shared interest and values, so that you could have good social health. And like we said, this could impact your emotional health, and a lot of other things. So it's good to remember that. In the areas of social wellness, community is the first area of the social wellness dimension. And the other area, and this area includes support groups, connections with family and friends. And connections are positive and fulfilling, and they're key to our social wellness. So again, take time to connect with folks by having dinner, grabbing coffee, maybe going out for lunch, reach out by phone, and try to find ways to keep catching up. Keep in touch with friends and families to create support in your community. Along with staying connected with those who we have a relationship with, it's also important to foster new relationships with people who have similar interests that you can enjoy spending time with. So you want to be open to meeting new people and to new ideas to expand your social health and take time. You can find different ways to do this. Maybe you want to take time to volunteer so that you are socializing that way. Or maybe, you're out walking the dog and you see another person in the neighborhood walking the dog all the time, and just, they're pups are a good way to start up conversations. So, if the dogs are saying hello, you could say hello too, and you never know. That social interaction could turn into a real friendship. So it's just worth opening your mind, and finding folks with similar interests to support that social wellness. Make time. Remember, in the physical dimension, I suggested taking time to go to the doctor and set time aside for sleep, and that goes for social wellness too. It's important to set that time aside that's quality time for family and friends, to go to new places and meet new people. And sometimes you're with your family all the time, but you're not spending really quality time together. So find time to try to do that. Maybe go for a walk through a park or a bike ride, something like that, so that you could spend that quality time together and get time together. That's going to help you to bolster your social wellness, and it can improve the other dimensions of wellness in a positive way also. And then we have occupational wellness. So there's three areas of occupational wellness. There's work relationships, balance, and accomplishment. And in occupational wellness, in that dimension, we talked about, in that presentation, we talked about occupational wellness may mean volunteering, but it might also mean your job. So there could be different ways that you see and interpret this area of occupational wellness. The three areas, the first you can see is work relationships. And while work relationships can be a little tricky sometimes, just like any other relationship, they're very important. So you want to make sure that you're nurturing them and they're healthy. You would probably recall from the emotional wellness slide, we talked about knowing limitations, setting boundaries, for ourselves, and practicing self-care. And these concepts are very much interrelated with occupational concepts and work relationships, because work relationships really require that you stick to your value system, and offer good communication. So just like you would in any other, in a personal relationship, you want to find that same satisfaction in your work relationships. And communication is important, in any relationship. Balancing work time is really hard, but scheduling free time is just as important as marking your calendar for meetings. So make sure to include leisure time in your schedule, so that you're not feeling so bogged down with work all the time, so that you can maintain that wellness. And finally, take time to recognize your accomplishments and be proud of those accomplishments. If you work really hard, give yourself recognition for what you've accomplished, so that you are feeling like you've done something. And if you recognize your accomplishments, and some days it's just, you go home, you're like, wow, it was a really good day. I did good today. I got a lot done. So recognize them, even if it's just checking off a bunch of stuff on your checklist from that day, that's an accomplishment. So make sure that you recognize those. And the one thing that I say all the time is breaks and vacation. They give us vacation, don't give it back. Take that vacation, use it for leisure time, for family time, for social time, whatever it is. It's there because it's needed. You need a break. So make sure to take your breaks during the day, take your lunch breaks, and take your vacation breaks. All right, intellectual wellness. So intellectual wellness, like some of the others, has three areas, which include personal interest, education, and brain exercise. So being intellectually well may mean looking at different perspectives as well as continuing to learn. If it may mean playing games, but it's finding positive ways to work the mind that are challenging, that don't need to be hard or taxing. So, when you think of intellectual wellness, again, just like physical wellness and exercise, find something that you enjoy, find something you want to do so that you are participating and you feel well in that area. Achieving intellectual wellness means doing things that harness your interest positively. Again, that word positively. So for example, find something that is inspiring to you personally, like teaching a class, reading something new, or taking up a new hobby or skill. When we're in school, sometimes we're learning things that we really don't want to know about, or we say to ourselves, like, why do I need to know this? And it's important to learn when we're young, but it's also important to learn when we're older or aging. So you know, I feel like if I always think about what did I learn new today, I try to think about that, or I try to learn something new every day or discover something new every day. So no matter the age, it's important to continue learning, and don't think of it as something like maybe you was negative in school. Turn it into something positive about what you want to know. It doesn't have to be, you know, math. If you don't like math, it could be anything that you're interested in knowing about. You could take a class in a subject area of interest or do something for professional development to help expand your knowledge. But again, find what interests you and is appealing to you to continue learning. Just like our body muscles need movement to be healthy, so does our brain. So you want to make sure you keep working that brain. Make sure to do things to challenge your mind and stay sharp to prevent memory loss and signs of dementia. And it's easy, it could be as easy as borrowing a book from the library or reading a book, maybe playing a memory game, or keeping, you know, up to date on current affairs to engage your mind. And you may recall when we went through the various dimensions of wellness that there was a good deal of reference to how the dimensions interrelate and can support one another. The next area of intellectual wellness, which is conversation, is a great example of how the dimensions support one another. So if you're engaging in healthy debate and conversation to support your intellectual wellness, then you're likely supporting your social wellness too, and that's important. Try to have conversations with folks that are like-minded and enjoy conversating with you as well. And then there's spiritual wellness, and spiritual wellness recognizes our search for meaning and purpose in human existence and helps us to develop an appreciation for life and the natural forces that exist in the universe. There are three areas of spiritual wellness that include personal beliefs, a personal belief system, involvement, and time. And again, take a minute to think back to your goals for spiritual wellness, or if you haven't made any, maybe think about some you can create to be more in touch with achieving this goal of spiritual wellness. And I just want to show, I get a lot of photos for the from stock photos, but the pink one there in the corner, that is the Northern Lights from Cape May County. I took that off my deck. So I just wanted to share that with you because, you know, I think that being in nature for me brings a lot of spiritual wellness. And I was so excited when I saw those Northern Lights the other night and I was able to capture that. So that's the bubble there with the pink lights. They're the Northern Lights from last week. And was sharing with a lot of friends and family members, you know, seeing that. And it was such a cool thing. So, you know, sometimes spiritual wellness might be something to do with nature like that. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So there's things that you can do to fine tune your what you might already have, or you might develop some new practices. But values and principles that you believe in are a good place to start for spiritual wellness. Find community connections and socialize in ways that support your belief system. And sticking to that belief system and that value system will make you feel spiritually well. Remember to be kind to yourself. That's where that self-care comes in. And also be kind to others. You want to, excuse me, establish beliefs and values that are suitable for you and stick to those. Share time with people who have healthy, like-minded beliefs and set aside time for spiritual connections and practices. And that can be that can look different for everybody. And again, like I said, everybody's different on the call, so it's going to look a little different for everybody. Find ways to be spiritual that can support the many different dimensions of wellness, such as emotional and social wellness. And if you are not sure where to start, maybe start in nature. Like I said, that's very inspiring to me. It could be inspiring for others. So nature is a good inspiration. And studies are also supporting spiritual and environmental wellness from being out in nature and being physically active in nature. So that could support a lot of your other areas of wellness, like physical and environmental. Take time to be active or meditate in nature. Maybe just go out and take a couple deep breaths in. You know, the air is getting crisp out there right now. So go out and just sit maybe with the sunshine and the breeze on your face. Take a couple deep breaths in, breathe it in, and feel that nice cool air in your lungs. And that, you know, could benefit you in many ways, but it could get you started if you need to start on a spiritual journey of just that ability to relax and stay calm. Okay, and then we have environmental wellness. So in environmental wellness, that includes green living, change of scenery, and home and work environment. And being in a clean and refreshing environment can promote environmental wellness and include many other dimensions as well. I know last week we were cleaning out a room here in my office. So a lot of the stuff came into my office, and finally got to the point I said, okay, I got to clean this up because I can't take my environment, my work environment was not feeling real well or real healthy. So we cleaned that up and I feel much better now. So that's how environmental wellness can impact the other dimensions for sure. There's various ways you can achieve various environmental wellness, and hopefully after participating in the other dimensions of wellness presentations, you found some ways to experience environmental wellness. And I'd just like to say that the key word today is outdoors. Outdoors is the key word today to do in the survey. Doing things to help support the environment overall, the big environment is important. So things like recycling, limiting power and water usage, maybe taking public transportation or sharing a ride to cut down on emissions, or checking your car's emissions annually. They're good ways to contribute to the larger picture of environmental wellness, and that might, help you feel more environmentally well, and that's awesome. So that's one way you can contribute to the overall wellness. But for personal and closer to home environmental wellness, you might want to change up your scenery a little bit, maybe enjoy some outdoor time in new places and places that you enjoy. And again, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of research showing the benefits of spending time in nature for overall wellness. And you may want to, add in a bike ride or a walk or something in your physical activity regimen to get that outdoor area, environmental wellness added into your balanced and strong dimensions. Having an organized home and work environment, like I said, that's really important. I always say, if there's too much clutter, it clutters up what's going on in my head. So decluttering things can also be very, very helpful in finding work an emotional balance and a environmentally well balanced way of thinking of wellness. All right. Okay. So we've gone through almost all of them. We're getting close. This is the last one, and that's financial. And financial wellness, there are 4 areas, which include work, checking and or savings account, debt, and retirement or other accounts. And when we discuss financial wellness, some key themes we're getting education about finances, having a plan to save and pay down debt, and seeking assistance that was reliable as needed for savings and reducing debt. So you might want to think about how you've met your goals for financial wellness since viewing the financial presentation, but you also might want to think about how you may realign if needed, or add other goals if you haven't quite met where you want it to be. The list of things here to find financial wellness have some reoccurring themes that are, basically telling you that financial wellness takes tools, it takes planning, and it takes education. None of these should cost you money. You can obtain some, and I have down here in the corner, the Utah State Extension has a great website that you can go on. It has steps to, manage debt, reduce debt, and it's free. So again, like it doesn't, extension services, especially FCHS across the board, nationally, we offer a lot of different financial services to help support you that are free, and tools that you can use. So use tools to make yourself successful. Take classes to improve your skills if you need to. You might want to keep your resume up to date in case your financial wellness depends on a job change or, a current job. And if an opportunity arises and, it's a good opportunity for you, you have that resume ready to go, you can, pop into something new that might be bringing more financial wellness. So good to keep that resume up to date. Be aware of conflicts with benefits. If you're on disability or Social Security, you want to make sure that you are not running into any conflicts by different incomes that might be coming in or savings accounts. You want to be aware of various types of accounts and what benefits they offer so that you can maximize your savings and spending power. You want to look for tools to keep track of money so that you are up to date with your financial status, and examine savings options so that you're, again, maximizing your potential financial wellness. Look for credible organization. So that one I have on the side there for Utah Extension, Utah State University Extension, that is a credible resource. So you want to make sure that you're, not paying money for something you shouldn't be paying money for, but get a credible resource to check out what you can help with to reduce debt or save or whatever your goals might be. Talk to your bank about your goals and see if they can help too. And if they're there to assist you. And so you want to make sure you talk to them. And if your bank's not meeting the goals that you need for your saving and debt reduction and different things, then maybe you look at finding one that does, so that you have the presence of mind to get things taken care of the way you like. You want to make sure that you plan for present, right now. You want to plan for the future. But be sure to create a plan of what you would like for the future, so you can make that happen. So have short-term goals, have long-term goals, and set up a plan to make those things happen. It's never too early or too late to start planning for your future. So do that for financial wellness. And if you're at retirement age, you want to make sure you check with Social Security and see what's best for you, when you should start collecting. Collecting Social Security at 65 might not be the best option for you. So you want to check, based upon your income, if you're still working, and taxation laws, things like that. You want to check into that. And you can go to check Social Security to check that out too. And also, if you're on disability, you want to make sure that what you're setting up is not going to interfere with anything that you're saving or earning for those benefits. All right, so here's the QR code again. If you could take that out and take the survey, I would greatly appreciate that. And I'm going to release the second poll. All right, and I also just launched a poll. If you could fill that out, that would be wonderful. I appreciate that. All right, I'm just going to read through before we finish up some of the comments that were going on here. Somebody's joining in from Arizona. Let me just tell you, I was just in Arizona for a conference. Beautiful. And talk about improving your environmental wellness. It was wonderful. And emotional wellness. It was a nice little getaway for a conference. Worked a lot, but it was nice because you could walk from one area to the other for the meetings, and you were outside and beautiful sunshine. It was awesome. So shout out to the folks there in Arizona. Love it. And dance is considered to be one of the best neurological stimuli. Dance is a great way to be physically active. It helps with your emotion. I mean, music, who does it, right? Picks you up. So that's a great idea too. Yeah, so thanks for that feedback. All right, so we're going to move on now. If you have anything else, you can add it to the chat. Feel free. I just want to sum up and review here that we've learned a lot in the last 10 lessons, and I appreciate you all for joining. There's 8 dimensions of wellness as we've gone through, and each is supported by positiveness, and within each of the 8 dimensions, we've seen that one supports the other. So they're very cyclical, they're very interactive. You can see they're touching each other, and they do support one another. And it's important to be aware or mindful of where one area may need attention so that you can achieve the balance necessary for overall wellness. We talked many times throughout the lessons about setting small goals and taking one step at a time to obtain wellness. So don't try to pour it all on at once. That could be a little overwhelming. Take those small steps so it's a good balance for you. We also emphasize being aware of how one goal impacts the other for overall wellness, and how important that was. And then finally, we noted that wellness is an ever-changing concept for you. So one day emotional wellness might mean one thing, and another day it might mean something else. So keep that ever-changing concept that requires reviewing and reevaluating in mind when you're feeling not so well. You could say, well, I felt really good a month ago in this area and now not so much. So reevaluate, do a review, check in with yourself, and just set time aside to do that and recognize where you might need to balance things out, because that's going to help you stay balanced more frequently. And then realign when you need to for that optimal wellness. So, all good stuff. And I know, again, like it's a lot of things, but it personally, writing this curriculum and reviewing it, and teaching it over and over again has really helped me to find a little more balance, in my wellness, and taught me how to check in. So I try to practice what I preach. I'm not always great at it, but I try to. And these are the resources that we've used throughout the presentations. And then finally, as I mentioned, I wanted to share with you, you can see down the bottom here under resources, we have our Cape May FCHS webpage. There's a state webpage we have, and there's a Facebook page, and then my email is there as well. And you're free to reach out to me anytime you like. But I encourage you to go to the webpage. There's all kinds of free resources on there. We have bulletins and webinars and pamphlets, all kinds of stuff that might be helpful for you to achieve